Hi, Tonya Phillips again. Hoping you'll join me for this practice to strengthen and stretch your back. Props you might need today would be a blanket of any kind and a strap. Again, if you don't have a strap handy, you can always use an old necktie or a belt, something that you can get both hands around to hold your legs up. So let's get started. We're going to start in our easy cross-leg pose if that's something that feels appropriate to you. I would always recommend sitting on a blanket or a bolster or really anything, a couch cushion if that's all you had at home, to lift your hips. We always say we use the props to lift the earth to meet our needs in any posture. So that's always a good recommendation if you need it. Let's take a few moments to anchor ourselves and start with the breath. So we'll start some inhales and some exhales, and you're always welcome to inhale through your nose and exhale through your mouth for a couple rounds. Just to settle into your body and to make that connection. As you're able, you'll start inhaling through your nose and exhaling through your nose, sealing your lips, and maybe drawing the tongue to the roof of the mouth. The eyes should be gently closed or looking down towards your mat, your legs. Body scan, walking down the body, starting at the top of the head, down to the feet, to just become aware of anything that's bothering us today. We all wake up with something usually. Even though the focus in this practice is going to be mostly the back, we'll try to get the upper, the mid, and the lower back. We do want to do some warm-up to getting the rest of the body involved, because the more movement, the more our circulation will be improved and the better our blood flow. So we're going to start with the neck. And you can change your legs at any point if this becomes uncomfortable, but we'll start to tuck the chin, roll the shoulders back, and lift the chin. And we'll do this a couple times. Just keep your eyes focused on something. If moving your head makes you dizzy. Good, coming back to center where our ears are stacked over our shoulders, we'll look to the right and then to the left. Repeating that one more time, to the right and again to the left. One of our biggest stretches, one of my personal favorites, I like to move my arms out to the side. So we'll do this twice, don't add on yet. Stacking the left ear and then slowly bringing the awareness into the neck over to stacking the right ear. And so the communication may be, how is this feeling? Did I sleep well last night? All those things are important factors. Coming back to center, we'll go a little deeper, stacking the left ear over. And this is where you might add on, walking your right fingertips away, or even reaching out if that's an option for you. You could take your left hand and add it to the head, the left hand for weight, and the right finger's walking away. Really breathe into this, try to soften the face, try to soften the jaw, and let that neck lengthen. We'll come back to center. It's always good to just be aware, to just observe. We'll switch sides, stacking the right ear, left finger's walking away, right hand would be the addition. Again, softening into the breath, into the stretch. Good. One more time, we're gonna tuck that chin. And lift the chin. Back to center. So we're gonna start moving through the arms next. Take an inhale, reach up. And on your exhale, press down. Doing that again, inhale, reach up. Exhale, press down. Starting to move a little bit. Inhale, reach up, and as you exhale, start to twist to the right. Now this is a really gentle twist. We'll give the hands a place to land. Right hand gently behind you, left hand to the knee or the thigh area. Sit up tall, lengthen, maybe not even turn the neck to look all the way around. We'll float the arms up. Inhale, sweep and go over to the other side. Again, hands just gently land. Bringing the awareness into those spinal muscles. Good, like a rainbow, we'll go up and over, right hand to the floor, left hand reaching, lengthening through the side body. And you'll just turn your neck to the direction that feels just right. Let's get to the other side of the rainbow, up and over you go, left hand to the floor, right hand reaching. Good, back to center. We're actually gonna draw the hands together in front of the heart in a fingers interlace, thumbs either crossed or not position where the palms are touching. And we'll start to press away. So right now the arms are about shoulder height, chest height, and you're energetically pressing through the palms, but we want to pull the shoulders back and down. Start to zip your core up and lengthen through your spine. And as you're able, you'll start to press away, only bringing the arms up to the place that the shoulders are completely happy with. If you have more mobility at this point, you can bring them a little closer to your ears, but again, we're just starting, so we don't want to overdo, don't want to overtax the shoulders. As we release, we'll take the hands down to the floor, and we're actually going to grab a hold of the right wrist with the left hand. The arm comes behind you, and you'll pull the arm down and possibly across the body, rolling this right shoulder back. Something else you can add on here is either tucking the chin to the chest or maybe over towards your left collarbone. Opening up through the chest, releasing back through the shoulders, lengthening through the spine. Good, and we'll come back to center. And we're going to repeat that, releasing the arms, releasing the legs, and just switching the way our legs were seated. So we'll inhale, reach up, and on the exhale, we'll start to twist ourselves to the left, again, placing the hands somewhere that feels comfortable. Inhale, the arms float up, and we arrive on the other side of our twist. We have that big rainbow move coming again. So inhale, float the arms up, left hand down, right arm reaching over. Maybe you're able to go just a bit deeper this time. Ensuring that you're keeping the sits bones grounded. And then rainbow up and over to the other side. Good. Once again, we'll meet in the center with our hands interlaced. And maybe you do it a different way. If it feels weird, it's probably right. We'll press away. Finding that awareness, pulling the shoulders back, lengthening through the spine, and then as we're able, starting to press up, press away. Good. Finally, we'll finish this same sequence. We'll release. We grab a hold of the left wrist with the right hand. We pull the arm down and possibly over. Shoulders rolling back. Your additions would be tucking your chin to the chest or possibly towards the right collarbone. Back to center, we will meet again. Starting to move the arms. Inhale, reach up. Exhale, press away. Do that again. Inhale, reach up. Exhale, press away. So now we're going to draw the arms into a cactus position. So I want to think about opening the chest and moving the shoulder blades back and forth. So we will bring the forearms, the elbows, and the hands to touch, and then we'll open and we come into this cactus arm position. We close them and we open them. We're going to do that several more times. Closing and opening. So there's an exhale and there's an inhale and exhale and inhale, pausing here. We'll release the hands down to the floor. So next we'll be going to tabletop. Join me if you're able. This is a great place to use a blanket under the knees if we need a little extra cushion. So in our tabletop position, stacking our bones and our joints, we're going to move through a few rounds of cows and cats just to help get the spinal muscles, the front body muscles, a little bit of warmth. And you'll continue to move, inhaling, pulling through cow, exhaling, pressing away, finding your cat. if tabletop is not an option, you can do cats and cows from a seated or a standing position. Just get that breath in there and move with the biggest range of motion that feels comfortable for you. Good. This will be our last one. We're going to take a little pause in child's pose. You might widen your knees and let the big toes touch, sending the heels and the seat into a deeper relationship, drawing the forehead down to the floor and resting the arms. You're always welcome to take the hands back by the feet and relax through the neck and shoulders if needed, and maybe take this opportunity to fist and open the hands. We do have several more poses coming up where we're going to be in our tabletop position, so taking note of how the knees are responding and always trying to make adjustments or take modifications as needed. So from our child's pose position, we'll reach the arms forward and maybe draw the leg bones back in towards the midline. We're going to walk off the mat over to the left, stretching through that right side body. You want a good stretch here, but you want to be able to take a nice deep breath as well. There is such a thing as overstretching, so just checking in, being mindful. We'll walk the hands across the mat over to the right, same thing, but we're stretching the left side body this time. So we'll come back into our tabletop position and we're going to thread our needles next, but we have a little prep work to get to before we thread all the way through. So reaching with the right arm, you're going to open up through the chest and allow the shoulder to just go to the range of motion that feels safe, and you'll exhale and reach through. We'll do this 5 times total. Inhale, reaching open. Exhale, reaching through. Just loosening up that upper thoracic body so that when we plant the hand, which we'll do, I believe this is 4, I might be wrong. When we plant the arm and the hand down, here we are in our thread the needle, we've got a little bit looser position. So the left hand can stay right here beside our head as it was in tabletop. If you're able, you can reach it up to the top of the mat. Make sure you're externally rotating that shoulder back and really reaching through the arm, rolling into the right shoulder. Another alternative is to take the left arm and wrap it across the small of the back if that feels good. Make sure you pull the shoulder down if you're going to practice that variation. I usually just leave mine reaching up. We have a breath to go. Inhale. And a long exhale out the mouth. We'll slide the left hand back to tabletop. Rejoin the whole table, all 4 legs supporting us, and then we'll take the left arm. Same moves 5 times. Opening. Good. Here's 3. Make sure you're breathing. 4. And finally, we'll set this one down, completing our thread the needle. So left arm reaches through. We set the side of the face down. Right hand can stay or it can reach up. And remember, you also have the option to wrap the right hand or arm around the small of the back. So this reaches right in between the shoulder blades. This is kind of the counter stretch, counter pose for cats and cows. It's wonderful if you are seated for long periods of time, working at a computer, or for driving long periods of time. And we will slide the right hand back down to bear our weight as we come back to our tabletop. So moving from here, we're going to go into some spinal extension work. So we're going to start with the right leg pressing away, waking up the ankle, the Achilles, the calf, and the abdominals are drawn in pretty strong. Try to keep the shoulders stacked over the elbows, over the wrist. Start pressing down through your knuckles. And we'll float the right leg up, move the ankle around a little bit, rotation, flexion. And as you're able, you're going to bear a little bit more weight into your right hand so that the left knee doesn't have to take all of the weight, but you'll extend your left arm up. So we tuck the ribs in, we press the earth away with the right hand. You can point or flex the foot. I'm not too worried about that right now. Neck should be long and neutral. So sometimes I have my eyes looking down right here in this area. Sometimes I take my eyes to look up without moving my head to achieve that. So we'll release and we're going to do the other side. Left leg, you'll press back. Kind of stretching into the leg, floating the leg up, moving the ankle around a bit, and And then as you're able, remember you're going to shift your weight just a little bit deeper into this left arm as you reach and find your spinal extension. So in the fitness world, these are sometimes referred to as bird dogs. They stretch, but they do a lot towards strengthening the back. And we'll release. And so we're going to move into another one. We'll do right arm and left leg at the same time if we're able. Really pulling the abdominals in, ribs in towards the spine, activating through the legs and the glutes, drawing the arm back into the socket, releasing, and we'll grab one more on the other side, extending, reaching. Good, back to center, and we'll wag our tails for a few breaths. What we're going to do next is leave the hands on the mat, and remember we can take a break anytime we need with this. We're going to do a little bit more movement with the lower body, the legs, the glutes, the hips, just to activate some muscles for some things we're going to do in just a bit. So leaving the hands on the mat, and if I needed to, if my hands and my wrists were getting tired, I could always come down to my forearms. Remember, your blanket might be here to help support this part of the practice. But as we're able, you could also even, I forgot about this part, you could even have fists if that was something that was appropriate. So we're going to extend the right leg back, and you're going to hug knee to chest. We'll do this 5 times. Extend back, hug knee to chest. Here will be number 3, 4, and 5. From here, you're going to bend at the knee and kick up for 5 like doing a donkey kick. So 1, 2, really strong core, 3, 4, 5. We'll bring the same leg, let the knee come to a hover, try to square your hips up a little bit, and then open out to the side for 5, 4, strong core, 3, 2, 1, and we're going to straighten this leg one more time. Cross over the left foot and press into it, kind of stretching through those hips and the glutes. And we'll come back to center. Let's get off our hands for just a moment. So maybe resting the forearms down, turning the palms up, fisting and opening the hands a few times. And we'll get to the other side. So back into our tabletop. Remember, you have the option of doing it on the forearms if that serves you better. Making sure that you're coming back to a good established tabletop. So we'll extend the left leg behind us and draw the knee in. Breathing. 2. Inhale. Exhale. 2 more. Good. Last one. We extend, we bend at the knee, and we kick up for 5. Really strong core. 4. Isolate those glutes. 3, 2, 1. Bringing the knee down to a hover, trying to even our weight between both hands in this right knee, and finishing up with these clamshells. Here's 2, 3, 4. Last one. Good. And we take it across, pressing away, stretching into these hips. Nice job. I'll meet you back in tabletop where we'll take a child's pose real quick, releasing the hands and the wrists, getting off of those for a moment. So next we're going to slide forward and grab Sphinx pose. Laying on the belly, extending the legs out behind us. They don't have to be touching, but we don't want them wider than the hips. You want to think about alignment, shoulder stacking over the elbow crease, tops of the feet will be down. You're going to start to press away from the mat as you move your shoulders back and lift your heart. So the legs are heavy, the feet are heavily rooted, the low back and the glutes and the thighs are working here. Keep pressing away, keep pressing away. Want to keep the abdominals drawn in. So think about lifting your navel towards your spine. Always thinking about safety when you're moving in ways that could affect your back. And then we'll release all the way down. So what we're going to do next is practice half frog. And this is a great place to use a strap if you have one handy or whatever you're using for your prop. If the flexibility is not there, especially in the knee, you would just bend as you're able. And I've got a couple different options for you. So we'll make a fist with the left hand, and this is going to be our little pedestal for our chin to start. And as I'm able, I'm going to take my right hand and reach back towards the top of my foot or my ankle, maybe my pants. Maybe I've taken my strap and looped it, and if you're practicing with a partner, they can help you if you need that. And you're just going to rest the left leg down, heavily rooted to the mat, as you start to draw the right heel in towards your seat. So another option for the upper body is I could rest my left hand down and lay my head down, if that felt comfortable for my neck. And maybe a deeper variation of practice would be setting up that Sphinx position again. So the left arm comes to the mat. We've got shoulder over elbow, or pretty close to it. And we start to draw the heel in towards the seat even more. So what I don't want to do is roll to my left hip and lift my right hip bone up. I want to keep both hip bones down. And start to draw the heel in as I'm able. So half frog sometimes looks pretty gross and the heel would come down to the outside of the hip. I would avoid doing that, especially if you had hip and knee issues. We're actually doing this to help our back. So we have a couple breaths to go, shoulders rolling back. Maybe it'd be better to keep our eyes forward or down, depending on where our support system is. This is my support system right here. I would recommend having a blanket underneath the abdomen and the pelvis region if needed for comfort. And so what we'll do from here is we'll take both arms and stack them and rest the forehead either on the hands or the forearms. And you're just going to move your leg back and forth, and if you're able, in a circular motion. And I like to do that both ways. It helps encourage that blood to return, that blood flow to return to the knee. Back and forth. If I only had this movement, that's better than nothing. And from here, we're going to do like a wind removing pose, but on our abdomen. So some variations call this half frog, and you're just trying to bring your leg up towards your armpit as fast as possible. You can place the blanket under the knee if this bothered the knee. You're going to feel a stretch coming through the back of the leg, through the glute, through the hip. We should have a great awareness in the right sacral SI part of the back. And you're just breathing. Just breathe into any area of the body that you feel this. And so like we do in yoga, we will switch and do the other side. So we'll release that right leg out long. I might start with my little pedestal for my chin. I'm going to reach back, grabbing the left foot. Same thing, my right leg becomes heavy. My left heel draws in towards my seat. And there's differences in the body, I think, on almost everybody that I've ever worked with. So from side to side, you just got to check in and see what feels right. If I'm able, I might come up a little bit higher into this variation. And I've always got my breath in check. If my breath has become a little ragged or a little rough around the edges, there's a couple ways to look at it. It could be I've mentally checked out or walked off my mat and I'm not practicing being present and listening to my body. Or it could mean that I've gotten myself into a situation that's too deep and maybe need to back off just a bit. And we will release and do the same thing we did, resting our forehead down, moving the leg in a manner that feels appropriate to us. If you can get some circles in there, great. If not, don't worry about that. Just move it to get that blood flow returning. We'll finish up with wind removing pose on the flip side here, drawing this left leg up. Again, knee is close to your armpit or just your side body as you can get. Sliding the blanket underneath the knee if I needed. And I can even draw my arms down a little further and just rest my forehead down like this. My awareness might be right here in this left SI sacral area, moving down through the glute, the outer leg, and the hip. We never want to compromise one part of the body to stretch another part. So if this bothers the knee, maybe we skip this part. I'm going to move back into child's pose for a little counter stretch. So use your hands to really press your seat towards your feet, resting your forehead down, creating more space, kind of nestling the legs a little further apart, trying to relax completely. So take a couple deep breaths in and out. You want to experience that back body and those side bodies kind of moving with the breath. From from here, we're gonna come to a kneeling position. So we'll place the hands underneath the shoulders, lift the head, draw the legs back into the midline. So we've made it to standing on our knees, and we're actually gonna come up to a standing position. Try to do that without using your hands to assist you. So even though this is about stretching and strengthening the back, the body the whole is connected through our connective tissue. So in my opinion, it is best to move a little bit in every area that we can to make all of us feel better, from the top of the head down to the feet. So we're gonna step into a wide stance. And you can play around with the distance between the feet. What we're gonna do is move side to side first. So hands can be at the hips. I usually just place mine on the thighs. And you're gonna start to move gently side to side to see what our knees are saying about this. And your goal is to sit back far enough that your knees are at least behind your toes. It doesn't have to be a really deep lunge, but enough that we're moving the knees and we're kind of experiencing what our hips, what our flexors, and what our glutes and back are saying. I could even take the opportunity and stay up here and move into a warrior two position with the legs and really open up through the hips, pausing or moving back and forth, whatever feels best. And obviously if you did it on one side, you would do it to the other. Or if you have more flexibility, more movement available in your knees and hips, you would go ahead and come forward. Once you get down here, same thing. You're gonna start to move gently side to side, trying to sit back far enough into the seat that the knees are staying behind the toes. And you can play around here with what your feet do. You can turn it out, you can turn it up, you can turn in. Just do what feels appropriate, what feels safe. We have a couple more to go if we're able. And from here, we're gonna walk out into our first downward facing dog. When I practice, I like to take my first dog in the wide variation. So I'm gonna make sure that my feet are planted. And I'm gonna take my hands and walk them out. You would wanna make sure you're on a surface that's not gonna slip. You're not gonna slip through your hands. You'll place your hands down just like what you do in a traditional dog and start to send your tailbone up and back. You do wanna pull your shoulders back, pull your ribs in, and you can even bend your knees a little bit here. So it will be a cross between a wide leg dog and a malasana squat. Not quite, but similar. Probably not as deep of a bend in my knees as I would in Malasana squat. So that's a good place to move the neck around a little bit. If I had the flexibility, I could even set the forearms onto the floor and practice more of a wide leg dolphin variation. I could play around with straightening and bending the legs. Again, it's just all about length and release, what feels good to us. Whether you're on your forearms or your hands, you're gonna walk the hands back underneath, stacking the shoulders over the hips, stacking the shoulders over the wrists, and we'll spin around where we're in a runner's position. We're gonna pull the right leg into meet, take the feet a little further apart, bend the knees pretty generously, and grab those forearms. Start to sway if it feels safe. A recommendation from here would be if you need to come up, you're feeling dizzy or nauseous, go ahead and make your way up to a standing position, and only if it feels safe to come back down, join us here. Otherwise, we'll meet you in just a moment. So the precautions would be for high and low blood pressure. If you're just not feeling your best, hanging upside down sometimes makes you feel worse. So releasing the hands, I might move my feet a little closer to the midline, still love all that space. Bending the knees, walking the hands up the thighs, and rounding, rolling up like I would in a cat back. So we're actually gonna grab a pose here called windmill before we get moving a little bit more. So the feet will go maybe just a little bit wider. I usually take mine about hip or a little bit wider, and I'm gonna start to wing it, swing it, windmill it out. If I was able, I could turn to look behind me. If that bothered my neck or made me dizzy, I would skip that part. And if you can see, I'm letting my feet turn the direction that the body is going. It's just a little bit safer for the back. You can actually smack yourself if you wanted. It feels pretty good. Through the shoulders, through the ribs. Just a gentle spinal rotation. And I'll meet you back in stillness. We're standing in mountain pose. So before we head down to the floor, we're gonna do a little more work in a kneeling position. So a caution, go ahead and get your blanket handy and have it for under your knee. So we'll inhale and reach up, and on our exhale, we will float forward. And we're gonna step the right leg back for what we know is runner's lunge, but we're actually gonna practice lizard. And so the blanket would assist us under this right knee if we needed. Give you a little visual of what that looks like. Gonna set the blanket down under the knee and walk the leg back a little bit. So the difference is on the hands. In runner, we would have them on either side of the foot. For lizard, we bring them on the inside of the foot. And so you're gonna play around with either having the knee down or having the leg fully up and extended with the toes curled. You'll just have to decide in your own body which one feels the best to you. And if you're familiar with lizard pose, and you could use a little deeper variation or a little funky variation as I usually call it, we can move the foot a little bit wider and even turn it out. If I had the flexibility, I could always come down to the forearms, but I'm just gonna sit tight right here. Feels pretty good. Always coming back into the body with the breath, always examining, observing what we're experiencing. Because if we don't stop and do that, we're really missing a lot of what a yoga practice is for. And so we're gonna come back to center. We'll draw this left leg back to the mat where it started in a runner's position. The hands will come back over here. And you might move your back leg in a little bit. We're gonna move into a half splits position. So I got a couple options for you. You're gonna start to send the hips back. And the first option would be just keeping this knee soft, keeping the foot planted, and letting the body just drape. You can even tuck your chin if you wanted. If you were more flexible, you could start to lengthen the leg a little further forward. Maybe draw the foot up to where the weight is buried in the heel. And you can even draw your head, your knee down together. If you were capable of full splits, you would slide this leg forward, slide this leg back, and get into your splits. That is not something that is part of my practice. So instead, I'm gonna move from half splits to a runner's position and just play around with moving the foot where it needs to be for me to get a good stretch. So I'm getting the front as well as the back. Body some movement here. Again, if you're practicing full splits, you might take another breath or two and get out of it safely. One of the safest would be pulling this back leg in first. We'll draw it forward, coming into that half forward fold. And then from here, we're gonna step this left leg back. So if I know I need my blanket, I'm just gonna slide it across the mat, set my left knee down. Excuse me, here I am in runner. I'm gonna bring the hands on the inside. I'm going to stop. I'm going to take that observation to see what this side of the body is feeling like right now. And as I need, I will heel toe the foot out a little wider, maybe angle the toe. And notice that we need a pedicure. Remember, I could set my forearms down if that's something that felt okay. Listening to that communication. What is the body saying? I could always lift this leg up if I wanted. I think from day to day, what you do with your body or what you don't do with your body determines your postures. Lizard is one of my favorites to practice if I have been sitting a lot, or if I wake up with hip and back pain. We have one more breath to go. And we always come back to home base, always pull everything back towards the midline. I'm actually going to move this back leg in a little closer, and we send the hips back for our half split. So again, I'll let you play around with what your foot does, what your body allows you to do here. Remember, you could shift the weight to more in the heel and just let your head be heavy. If you were going to move into full splits from here, you would slide your right leg forward, your left leg back. I'm going to play around with moving from runner to half splits, or actually it's kneeling lunge, low lunge to half splits. One or two more breaths if you're here. And instead of stepping forward, we're actually going to step back this time. So I'm going to pull my back leg in so that it's easier to get my front leg back. And here I am in my tabletop. I'm going to slide the blanket off to the side, grab a hold of my yoga strap. Crossing the knees is an option, or crossing the shin bones is an option, but just be careful how your ankles and your knees respond to that. And we're going to actually lay down next. So coming about halfway on the mat, bending the knees and rolling yourself down. When you get down to this back laying position, some suggestions would be, especially if you do have that chronic back pain, is to, before you lay all the way down, take your blanket and put it underneath the length of your spine, including the tailbone and the back of the head. And so the depth or the thickness of the blanket is always your preference, and you can use anything you have laying around at home. But anytime you can add some more comfort to what you're already doing, I say go for it. From here, we're going to move into a nice lengthened body stretch. So we'll extend the legs out long, and if you're able, you'll reach the arms out long. Just to lengthen out before we kind of compress it up again. We'll come back to what I refer to as bridge prep. And if you're able, you're going to grab Happy Baby. Now, Happy Baby is one of those poses that looks pretty funny. It feels pretty good. So what you're going to do is either grab the inside of the feet behind your knees, or the outside around your knees, calves, or the feet. Whatever your arms will allow you to do. You want to press down. You do want to have your tailbone, your sacrum down. You want to feel your back ribs touching the mat. So your lumbar curve has a little natural curve there. Your neck has its natural curve. And you could even rock here. The more flexibility you had, you would drive your knees down towards your armpits. You could even gently turn your head side to side if that felt okay. But it's a really, really good stretch. I do these as a prep before I do leg and back workouts. So if I'm getting ready to do a lot of squats or lunges or deadlifts, I practice some of these stretches that we've been doing here in this practice today, but especially Happy Baby, because it helps me get into a safer, deeper squat. We'll set the feet to the floor, and we'll extend the legs long. Might have my strap unrolled and across my body if I'm going to use it. So we're going to pull the right knee towards us, hug it into the midline, extend through the left leg. You might extend through both feet, or you can take this opportunity to move your ankles around if you want. We're going to switch. The right leg will extend, the left leg will pull in. Same thing, you're just hugging into the midline. Relaxing the shoulders, relaxing the neck, moving that ankle again if you want. We're going to repeat that, but I'm going to give you an add-on if your neck allows. So when you pull your right knee in, if it's appropriate, you might lift your head, curling up towards the knees. So the left leg is heavy, the right knee's pulling in, and I do not want to strain my neck, so be cautious. And we'll release in unison. And then the other side, left leg pulls in. If the neck allows, you might lift up. And we release. We'll pull the right knee in again. You'll lift your foot with your strap. Again, if I did not have a strap or a prop that I could use as a strap, I'm just going to simply hold my leg up with my little strap that I'm creating with my hands. Take some good inhales and exhales here, starting to soften, starting to relax. If you're familiar with this pose, especially if you are a regular practitioner at the studio, you're welcome to just close your eyes and listen to the pose. We'll guide the right leg out to the side. We'll come to center and finish this side up. Where it feels safest, where it feels appropriate, maybe bending the knee if we need here. You can turn your head to look the opposite way if you wanted. That car is just literally going up and down the street, up and down the street. Back to center we come. We'll go ahead and release this leg. I always encourage that movement. And then also taking that observation, readjusting yourself, making sure that everything is lengthened back out, resituated, maybe even pausing, letting the legs soften open for a moment. We'll get to the other side. We'll pull that left knee in. Use whatever we have to hold our leg up. Remember the modification, if this right leg extended out is not feeling too swell, we will bend the right knee in and modify as much as needed. But do try to keep your sacrum down on the mat. We're guiding the left leg out to the side. One of my favorite things about yoga is you literally can practice every day. Maybe depending on what style you're practicing. If you're doing a lot of strengthening poses, a lot of vinyasas, sometimes it might be recommended to have a pause in between. But I think most styles would say you can practice every day. As long as you're not overtaxing your muscles, you're staying nice and hydrated, you're nourishing your body with good, clean fuel, food. Next best thing about it is it works well with any other type of movement. Coming back to center and taking it just past the midline. So if you love to walk, yoga works well with that. Same with running, same with any of your sports, your lacrosse, your basketball, your tennis, your volleyball. Swimmers really benefit from yoga. CrossFit, weightlifters. Can't think of another exercise that it wouldn't work well with. And we're finishing this up. One more breath. And we'll be back in the middle. We'll move that leg around a little bit. We just got a couple poses to go before we get to relaxation. This next one I teach a lot for those who come in complaining about low back, or they've been told by a doctor that their psoas is really tight and shortened and they need to stretch it. So there's lots of poses. Your lizards, your pigeons all help with sciatica and stretching the psoas on the front and the back of the body. But one of my personal favorites is bending the knees, coming into that bridge prep. And you'll take your right leg and kind of hook it behind the left calf and slide the foot and the leg down to the floor. And so the closer I'm able to pull my foot towards me, the deeper this stretch is going to feel. So you'll have to experience and see what you need. I usually use my left foot to pull in close to the body. What I want to make sure is the back of my pelvis, both sides, back of my hips are resting down on the mat. And if I was really feeling an intense stretch, I could use a blanket or any prop really to press up underneath the leg here so that I don't feel strain. So you want to really pay attention to your breath here. Should feel this stretch moving from, I feel it all the way up here, under the ribs, moving directly down through that hip crease. It's starting to travel down through the thigh. It's kind of circling around through the outside of the hip. And I'm actually feeling it in the back side of my psoas now. So breath is important. You can place your hands on your body if that helps you connect to the breath. You can release them out to the side. And you want to stay here for a comfortable distance awareness where you're breathing smoothly. Maybe 8 to 10 to 15 breaths. And the way you're going to get out of this, I'm going to go ahead and move, is basically a reclined tree pose. So I'm going to slide my left leg out long. And this is another position actually that you could use to help hold the leg down and maybe soften the approach here. Everybody feels it differently, so you just got to check in. And then from there, I'm going to slide my right leg out, and I'm going to want to move it. So I'm wiggling it back and forth like a windshield wiper. If I preferred, I could bend the knees and move it back and forth like this. And so I'm going to start with a lengthened position, just to lengthen out the body again. I'll move the knees back into bridge pep, and then I'm going to take the left leg and hook it behind the right. And I'll slide the foot down, I'll experience, see what the body is saying, and if needed, I'll use my hand to pull this foot up a little closer, kind of build me a little support system here between my feet and let this leg soften down. So I can feel that I'm pulling up through my right side a little, so I'm kind of moving and wiggling around a little bit so that I can feel my sacrum down. I'm bringing the pubic bone up just a little bit so that I'm in more of a neutral spinal position. And in my own body, the right side, I'm right side dominant, so the right side is a little bit weaker, and my experience on that one is deeper. I can feel that stretch a whole lot deeper. Doesn't mean I don't feel it on this side, but it's not as intense. So I'm just breathing and I'm just paying attention. Remember, you could also extend this leg out long if you wanted to. Good place to close the eyes and just check in. I'm going to release the right leg long. Here I am in my reclined tree pose basically, and I could even slide the foot out and rest it up against the thigh and practice tree pose, bringing my arms into cactus or reaching them up, just making sure that I've still got that strong spinal position. And I'm going to go ahead and release that left leg and wiggle things around. I have one more posture we're going to do together before we head into relaxation, and you'll have the opportunity to stay longer than what the video is when you get to your relaxation. So bending the knees, yet again, back into bridge trap. We're actually going to lift the shins up to where the knees are stacked over the hips. We're going to draw the arms out to the side. I usually do palms down, but you can totally do palms up. And you're just going to start to drop your knees over to the side. So the way this goes is generally the higher the knees are, closer to the body, the deeper the twist is. And so if you needed to back off a little bit, you would just move the knees down. Some other additions is I can take my left hand and rest it on my thigh or my knee area, however close I need to be. And I do want to try to draw the right shoulder blade down a little bit, so sometimes maneuvering through your upper thoracic. Bend it out long to where I'm laying on my left side, my left hip. And we're going to do a little upper thoracic mobility facilitation here. So we've got both arms on top of each other here, and I'm just going to slide my top arm across and open it down on the floor. Arm is going to slide off and across to the floor. You'll keep going several times. I like to do it about 5 or 10, just depending on how much time I have. And the goal would be to get the shoulder blades to nestle softly down to the floor. Like mine are nestling a little bit better than they were when I first practiced that. For awareness, you're going to draw your legs back to center, and it's highly likely that you're not on your mat where you started, so just lift up and shift your hips and your shoulder blades back to where they were. We're going to start with the legs elevated, knees stacked over the hips, drawing the arms out to the side, letting the legs fall to the right. We'll experience with where our legs need to be, higher, further away, and breathe into this. If this is bothering the left arm, you're just going to bring your arm down directly behind your spine and relax as best as you can. Next, we're going to do our upper thoracic moves. So I will roll to where my weight is more into my right hip. And I've just got this leg placed on the floor. You can put a bolster or a blanket here if you want it. Right arm is out to the side. I'm going to bring my top piece of bread on my sandwich across here, and then slide it across and open it. And a lot of times when I say in classes, whatever kind of condiment or spread you're putting on your sub sandwich, your top arm is that knife, that spreader, just moving it across here, trying to create that openness in the chest and that softness in the upper thoracic back. Maybe one more time through here, and pausing. So from here, one more time, we'll bring that awareness into the core, maybe adjust our knees to roll ourselves back to center. Adjust our bodies one more time to lengthen out, possibly find Shavasana, back line, bound angle, or maybe sliding up to the wall. Thanks so much for practicing with me today. Don't forget to like and subscribe to my YouTube channel. And don't forget to ring the bell. You will get notifications every time we upload a new video. Namaste.